This podcast is brought to you by On Track Studio. It's an exciting day for the Big Brand Energy audience because in a couple of hours, I'm going to be presenting a masterclass to a client of mine's coaching group, and it's called Profitable Marketing. And I really wanted to rehearse it before I just delivered it. As I was creating this content, I'm like, obviously I need to make a podcast about this because I feel like I feel it's really valuable. I feel like it simplifies marketing, and I think it would be really handy for any business owner to have their hands on. So I thought, why don't I just rehearse the masterclass, press record so you guys get the content too, and bada bing, bada boom, I'm killing two birds with one stone. So for anyone watching or listening on Big Brand Energy, FYI, I have got slides that I'm looking down on because that's how I'm going to be presenting the masterclass, and there'll probably be a little bit of you'll notice it's a masterclass. It's going to be a bit of back and forth and pausing for effect. Ignore that, just take the good content away and I'll edit out as much as I can or get my team to. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. From here on out, I will be in masterclass mode. So see you on the other side. I hope you enjoy this. Okay, profitable marketing. On today's agenda, I am going to first be defining marketing. I'll then be exploring the marketing laws at play, and then I aim to simplify your approach to it. And then I'm going to leave some time for some questions at the end. So it's going to be a lot of information, but I'm aiming to kind of zoom out, go the macro level for everyone to understand just the few fundamental things you need to do mindset-wise, or be aware of, I should say, mindset-wise for your marketing. And then I'm going to condense it all down to, okay, so what would be the best approach for you as the business owner? And there's pretty much going to be three different ways you can go about your marketing, which is not many to choose from. And I'm going to make it very easy for you to be able to identify what approach you should go for. Because obviously having a one size fits all is never going to work for any marketing strategy, but I'm going to tell you what you need to be aware of for your particular business. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to walk away really clear on exactly what your next step is in terms of your marketing. If you've got the marketing spend there, where do you put it? What should you be investing in? What's going to give you the best return on investment? That's the kind of question I'm going to be answering today. And yeah, as I said, at the end, we're going to have time for questions. So if you would like any specific strategic advice for your particular industry or business, then we will absolutely have an opportunity to unpack that for you. For those of you who don't know, I'm Sophie. Hello. I am the marketing manager at The Profit Analyst. Gav is a client of mine. So I've been working with Gav since the start of the year. And yeah, so if you see his Instagram content or emails and stuff like that, it's probably me. It's nice to actually to see you in person because, obviously I'm hiding behind Gav's face a lot of the time. When I am not marketing for Gav, I am running a podcast and content creation studio in Nambour. I founded this place called On Track Studio. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago now. But before that, I had a background in marketing. So I specialize in content creation and digital marketing strategy for a number of businesses. One of them was actually Gav's previous business. Well, he still owns it, but I don't work there anymore. But yeah, I've had a very extensive life in the marketing world. And off the back of that is what led to me creating On Track Studio. And I will absolutely be giving myself a plug at the end of this because there may be a capacity that we could be working with each other in the future, because essentially what On Track Studio does, the service that I provide, it actually just removes resistance to people creating the content that they need to in order to stand out and differentiate from their competitors. Keep your ears peeled for that. I'm going to be putting that into your awareness fields, and then we can potentially have a chat later on. Yeah, my shameless plug actually is that I'm also in my heyday of publishing regularly for my own podcast. It's called Big Brand Energy. I was ranked number 6 of marketing podcasts in Australia. And I think that really comes down to my ability to not go too jargony and really bring a language to marketing and business that anyone can relate to. You don't need to be a marketer to understand what I'm saying, which hopefully will work to our advantage today for you guys. And yeah, let's dive into it. So I wanted to get a little bit of an understanding of where everyone's at in terms of what level of marketing you have invested in or not invested in the past. So if you can either go off mute or chuck in the chat what you have invested in marketing wise before. And if you dare share further, feel free to go into how you felt about that, how you felt the return on investment is. I'll give you a little moment to do that. Cool. So there's a bit of difference here. So we've got some people who have never invested and we've got some people who absolutely have. I thought it might be helpful to put out there a couple of common marketing activities because marketing is such a big topic. It's a massive umbrella term. You could be creating a logo and be in the marketing industry, or you could be at a photo shoot, or you could be writing an email, and we're all marketers. It's pretty important to differentiate like the difference between activities and strategies. And I'll be introducing a few new things to you in this masterclass. All of these things, you've already mentioned a few in the chat when I asked just before, are considered marketing activities. So we've got website, email marketing, meta ads, social media management, content creations, inverted commas, because it is its own umbrella term, which we'll unpack a little bit more down further into the call today. And we've got Google ads, and all of these things are considered marketing. So no wonder if you're in business and you're not a marketer, you might be feeling a little bit pulled in a couple of different directions, because there is so much to choose from. And without the education behind you, or without the, I guess, experience of actually executing on these activities, you might be like, I don't know where to start. That's completely normal, because often when I work with business owners, they find themselves in one of two camps. They're either completely overwhelmed because they don't know what to do, probably because too much choice and not enough education, or they're executing. They're these real type A kind of people. They're absolutely executing all these marketing activities, but often find themselves having slim to no return on their investment. I'd love to know which camp you sit in, A, B, or C, if it's another one, and let me know what that is, because it'd be really good to be able to shape this call around, the people I'm talking to. So I think the whole executing all kinds of marketing activities with slim to no return on investment is always done by the people with the best intentions. They're the people who are out there absolutely aware that they need to be doing something, but because they don't have the education behind them about what it is they should be doing, they often end up wasting their time and resources. And that's my, I guess, bigger overarching why I do what I do, because if you're that well intended, I would love to share the education required for you to actually get the results that you're putting in the hard efforts for. So that's my big kind of elevator pitch to why I do what I do. In order to get you switched into the right gear in terms of unlearning is actually the key here. Unlearning all the things that you've been told, to the point that you only got the productive things in your mind when you go to think about anything to do with marketing, is that there are literally only two laws. I call them laws because they are at play whether you know about them or not. They're like universal laws. Two laws that you need to be aware of as the business owner, and that will actually allow you to have the conversations with the marketers or the people, creatives that you collaborate with in order to actually get the activities out there. And once you understand these fundamental laws, you'll be able to come in as the leader you are of your own business and be able to be directing the attention to where is required for your own business. Some of you may have heard of a couple of these before. I wouldn't be surprised, as they're fundamental laws in marketing, but I will explain them for people who may not be as aware of what these are. The first one is marketing funnel, and the second one is the rule of 7, 11, and 4. So the marketing funnel, it is one of the marketing principles that has been around longer than any of us have. It dates back to, when we were all advertising in newspapers. So this isn't so much about the marketing activities. This is just like what is at play. In order to market to someone, they're going through this process, whether you're aware of it or not. And this process it's explained as a funnel, because the first phase is called top of funnel, which is all about the awareness phase. This is in context to your ideal client or customer. This is where they are aware, their experience is that they're actually problem aware. So they know they've got a problem that your business could potentially help them with, but they are just, prior to them being in the top of funnel, not necessarily aware of you and how you can solve that problem. The marketing goal is to use that awareness phase to say, hey, I'm available, this is what I do. Basically introduce these people into your world, so when they are at the point where they want to invest in someone, at least they know about you. So that's all about getting in front of the right people. The next is called the consideration phase. So from your client or customer's perspective, this is where they're considering their options. They know they're problem aware, now they're probably solution aware. Well, they're absolutely solution aware. If they've got a toothache, they've probably been placed in front of some sort of dentist, be that through referral from a friend or a family member, or maybe they were on Facebook and they've found a Facebook ad in their feed because your phone's always listening to you, of several dentist practices. So they've gone, okay, I'm aware of you. They're problem aware. I've got a toothache. I am now seeing a few dentists. Then they go into the middle of funnel where they're considering, okay, there's a few solutions out there. I can see Blah Blah's got a dentist. I can see Alexander Hedgelin's has got a dentist. Which one should I go for? Which one's going to suit me? And this is where they're really in that, okay, you as the business are being judged against the others. So you've got to be able to put your best foot forward in this phase to be like, this is why I'm the best choice for you. Maybe you're a holistic dentist and that aligns with this person's values, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of different things at play. I'll keep it, keep it on topic for now about the funnel. And I'll go into depth about activities you can do in those phases a little bit later. The final official phase is a couple of others you can see on the prezzo there. But the main final phase is the bottom of funnel. And this is where they're giving you their money. So they've decided that they want to choose you for their toothache or whatever it is that you deliver, and they convert into a customer. The modern marketing funnel has added 2 extra layers to this because we've found that it absolutely doesn't stop at the conversion, because we often want our clients to come back again, or our customers. And then the best outcome is that they then become advocates of your business and brand. So that's how it's working. You can see it's a funnel because you're always going to be attracting more people at the top, getting more, like a little bit less people involved in, considering you as the option. You'll be a hell no to a lot of people. So they'll fade off and then you'll convert less. That's just the fact. That's not because you're a bad business owner that you're not converting all of them. That's just how it is. This is just the law at play. So as an overarching strategy, we want to be thinking, how can we get the most people at the top in order to get a good amount of people in the middle so we're converting enough to keep our business profitable? That's essentially the game we're all playing. So that's the marketing funnel. Does anyone have any questions about that specific marketing law? The next one to be aware of when you're making a profitable marketing strategy is the rule of 7, 11, and 4. Now, this was really popularized by Daniel Priestley. You may have read his book, Oversubscribed. It's been going on for a lot longer than him, but he really brought it into the popular realm of modern day marketing. What's been found is that potential clients, so people who aren't yet a client, in order for them to become a client, they need 7 hours of interaction with your brand. They need 11 touch points across various platforms and 4 different formats. So we're thinking like video, text, a post, a photo, a podcast, all of these different formats. That's how you're going to absolutely know for sure that they're going to convert. Any questions about that? Has anyone heard of that rule of 7, 11, and 4 before? It does outline something that I'm going to bring up later that's going to be really important for you as a business who wants to have a profitable marketing strategy to be aware of this, because you can absolutely ignore this law. That's where you have unprofitable marketing. If you're maybe pouring in thousands and thousands of dollars of money to just an ads campaign, but you're not actually getting the other hours or touch points in that strategy, then you're going to be doing your strategy a disservice, because it's not going to be able to go the distance like it would if you were aware of this marketing law. Basically, to simplify what I've just gone through, when you're thinking about, okay, what marketing am I going to invest in my business? Basically, you want to be asking these questions. Is my approach hitting top, middle, and bottom of funnel? All of those things need to be considered. And have I provided enough touch points to influence a buying decision? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do with our marketing. All right, so that's the theory done. That's the fundamental laws you need to be aware of. And now I'm going to go into actually building a strategy. So going into the practical sides of things now for you, which is exciting. So before you can actually identify what approach you should go for, you need to first identify what the goal is. And you really need a clear idea of this. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to achieve what you're not aware you're trying to achieve. Have a think. What is it that you actually want from your marketing? And then we'll reverse engineer that. Chuck in the chat what it is you want, and I'll have a little look. But in the meantime, I'll tell you a little secret. In all my time of working with business owners, there is absolutely, at the end of the day, you ask why they want that outcome enough times, and we land on one of these 2 things. As business, we're in business because we want to be attracting leads and sales to our business, and there is no shame in that. So when we're clear on this outcome, anyone that doesn't, I'll just read the chat now, want to have leads and sales in their business. Is there anyone chasing a different marketing outcome? All right, so we can all agree we all want more leads and sales. Now I'm going to introduce you to your 2 options here. We have paid marketing activities and we have organic marketing activities. Is everyone familiar with the difference of these 2? Does anyone want me to explain in depth of what the difference is here? The couple of, regular paid activities that we often do as businesses. Investing in marketing in our Meta ads or our Google ads is a really good example of paid. And then organic is all of our things we're not putting an actual advertising budget behind. So our social media content, if we're doing YouTube, if we're doing podcasts, if we're doing email marketing, if we're not doing like an actual direct advertising spend behind the activity, it's classed as organic marketing activity. This is the first question we need to be asking ourselves when it comes to, okay, what am I going to put my marketing spend towards? Should it be paid? Should it be organic? I'll outline a couple of truths about both these approaches so we can then determine which is going to be the best one for you. The great thing about paid is that it's fast. So if you need leads, you want your offer to be in front of people, you pay your way and your offer's there. So it's fast. It's also trackable. So we can see exactly how many people has seen that ad, how many people have clicked on it, and then obviously how many people have bought into that. So that's awesome. We love that. But what we know to be true is that the cost per lead is the cheapest today than it ever will be. So if you're chasing leads and you've got an advertising spend and you've been doing that for the last 10 years, you'll know this because the cost per lead has gone up. And that's just because the platform is in control of this. The more you rely on a platform, the more they're going to take from you. And it's good to be aware of because we want to be doing our best if we are going down a paid approach to actually bring that cost per lead down. And I will be going through how you can do that in a little bit, so you'll have that advantage as well. On the flip side, organic is more steady. So there's more steady kind of leads coming in through there. You don't necessarily make a post and then someone books a call straight away. It has happened. It does happen. Many of you have known that. I know we experienced that in the Profit Analyst. It's usually less trackable and it's probably not as, the influx isn't as, high. But in organic campaigns, always the value compounds. So that means that the cost per lead goes down. So if you're regularly putting out content, what you'll notice is that the algorithm will be actually serving you. So it'll be pushing your content out to people who are interested in you. And it is what allows you to get that cost per lead down in your paid marketing activities. In conclusion about this little topic here, I would say that paid is best for quick leads. So if you're in a construction business and you just need quick inquiry and you just want to go out and look at people's properties and say, this is the quote, this is the quote, this is the quote, you should absolutely invest in your paid advertising as the first point of call. But a paid marketing activity is even better when it complements your organic approach. This is because there's something called a remarketing in advertising. And what that is that you can actually specifically target people who have interacted with your organic content. So you can pay nothing for people to see your post on Instagram and then use that data to actually get them to see your offer immediately after. So I'm sure you've all experienced this in before. You might click on a hairdresser's page and then all of a sudden you're scrolling a little bit longer on your phone and all of a sudden you're seeing, oh wow, they're doing a cut and blow dry for 50% off. That's so weird. That's so good. I want to do that. I was just looking at this page. What a coincidence. So that is a paid marketing strategy, but that is absolutely made more of a powerful activity by the organic approach. Otherwise, you have to pay your way the entire time, and that really burns through your advertising or marketing budget because you've not only got to pay the amount to get seen by people, so the people who don't know you or may know of you, but we need to get them seen and then retarget them with that offer. It's just going to cost a little bit more, or a lot more, I should say, than if you have this complementative organic strategy at play. To finish off the paid advantage, if you're in a position where you need leads immediately, this is where I would start. And there's no shame in that. Get some leads, get some income in, then move towards the next approach. Now, I know from Gav that a lot of you have got a marketing spend from the profit formula. So if you are in the boat where you've got the marketing spend and you're not necessarily needing the leads, you would benefit from the next approach because it will be a better long-term strategy. And this is where I want to introduce the concept of today. And this is where profitable marketing comes into play. So the difference between what we were just talking about in the advertising realm is profitable marketing is all about the longer term thinking, and what the longer term thinking allows us to do is to have the compounding results. To have a profitable marketing system, you must have the blend of both. You can, I've seen it done before, have a profitable marketing system with just organic and not paid, but not the other way around. And often if you're having it with just organic, it's because the person who is executing that strategy has been regularly posting and having the organic marketing at play for years. And so they're able to tap into an audience that they have built and have less of a paid element to it. And that's really where you want to be getting to. You really want to be getting to the place where you have to pay less to sell, you know? So ultimately, if you follow the profitable marketing strategy long term, that pendulum starts to swing and you don't have to invest so much into the actual advertising spend. But for most of us in business, it really pays to have at least a component of paid marketing, particularly to retarget the people who have seen us before on Instagram, on Facebook, been on our website, to just say, hey, just by the way, I've got this offer. And that's usually where we're going to get that actual conversion to that bottom of funnel activity. But the power of the profitable marketing strategy is not in that. That's actually the simplest part. The power comes from the top of funnel activities and the consideration funnel activities. And the better your organic marketing is, the more leverage you have. So the less you'll have to spend. And that's really motivating to, you know, get your organic marketing sorted. So your starting point with all that in mind is invest in assets first. Now, I haven't really heard a lot of people in the space, like the marketing space, talk about this concept before, but I think it is a great metaphor or a great conclusion or awareness to have of like what we're actually spending on. So we always talk about, and Gav would always talk about in the profit formula, that marketing is an investment, but we want to make sure we're investing in assets and not liabilities, because we can absolutely make poor investment choices in our marketing. And what today's goal is to empower you with the knowledge so you make less of those liability based decisions and more in investing in assets. I would class assets, I'll go through this with you, as things that are going to give you long-term return on investment. So an asset in versus activity. I've got the same diagram up here of like the different common marketing activities that we talked about at the start. A website is an example of an asset because you invest in it once and it pays dividends for years to come. You make a good investment and you never have to do another investment again, and you're purely just churning through getting clients on the basis of that investment. You make a poor investment and you probably have to reinvest and reinvest and reinvest. So a good website is absolutely an asset. And the flip side is a bad website is absolutely a liability because you've just spent money in something that's not returning on investment at all. At the end, you can absolutely ask me some questions about what makes a good investment in a website and what doesn't. But for now, I'm going to keep it top line kind of information so we can churn through the content. And then, yeah, if you have questions at the end, we can absolutely explore that. The other thing that is an asset would be your logo and branding. I would also argue that certain levels of content creation is absolutely an asset, especially when we think about the long-term goals of business. So, you know, I've listed a few examples of content creation down here. We've got like weekly posts. So that I'm referring to your short form posts on Instagram versus sales videos. They're very different pieces of content. I would say that weekly post is probably more of a marketing activity, whereas a sales video is absolutely a marketing asset because you can, again, use that time and time again in order to convert your ideal clients into customers. The founder story, the why behind the biz. If that's a video, a really quite a high production video, that's absolutely going to be an asset. That's going to be a great asset for your business. Then we've got the podcast and YouTube section. Now, depending on who you partner with to create your podcast, this could be an asset or a liability because there is absolutely a strategic way to have a podcast and a not so strategic way to have a podcast. So that one's sort of, you know, that's up to the strategy or up to the person that you collaborate with to determine whether that is. But the point of this slide is to really just get you in the awareness of, okay, am I in a place where I am wanting to invest in assets, build up my assets portfolio, or am I at the point where I need to be actually executing on marketing activities? How to determine that is if you don't have any assets, start there. If you do and you're happy with, you know, a few assets, that's when we can start looking at activities, which might include email marketing, Google ads, meta ads, and weekly posts and things like that. Does anyone have any questions about the differentiation of assets versus activity in terms of the marketing space? So if you are in the asset building phase of your business, you don't have a website, you don't have any content out there, I want you to keep in mind that we want to build functional assets, and aesthetics can matter. less than you think, depending on the activity. What I kind of mean by this is, for example, you'll have to kind of determine this and do a little research in your industry of what everyone else is doing to build the awareness muscle of like what classifies as what you're required to do, your industry standard. For you, it might just be an inquiry form that is a good enough website asset to get you going. For other people, it might be just simply a Calendly link to book a call with you. But for the product-based people, you're probably going to need something a lot more substantial in order to actually get the benefit from the marketing activities. The way I explain it to people when they're starting out and getting their assets building, it's really important to be clear over creative. Creative is a nice to have and often actually a bad to have, depending on how creative you go, because good marketing is actually, it taps into your creativity as the person who's executing the marketing, but the result is always very clear. So, when you're deciding what you want to do in terms of website builds and all of that, make sure that you prioritize the functionality over the aesthetics. Because once you have these initial assets to capture your leads, you can shift gears into the activities, which is, in my view, the fun part. A note, the better the asset, the more profitable the activity becomes, because the better the video on the ad, the better the chance of the audience clicking. The better the website, the more likely the person is to book the call or to give you an inquiry or purchase an item. The more people engaging with your content, the higher conversion rate in your ads. So these things, the one that precedes the ladder, so the content is the asset and the ads is the activity. The website is the asset. The activity is getting them to book the call. So once you have those things, you can absolutely go into activity, and this is where you get to build that for you. Now we're going to revisit the marketing funnel to bring it back into your awareness when we go into this next phase of what activities are going to work for you. We want to be thinking, what's going to give me the best return on investment? If I know I need to have a top of funnel component, a middle of funnel, and a bottom of funnel in order to get the loyalty and the advocacy that I desire in my business, we have to have that in mind when we start thinking about what it is that we are going to invest in. So what's the best marketing activity? We've got the top, bottom, and middle of funnel to consider. We've also got the rule of 7, 11, and 4 to consider, okay, what's going to give me the best return on investment? What activity is going to allow me to get fast to the 7 hours of content across 11 touch points across 4 platforms? Any idea what could be that activity? The great reveal, a video podcast. And it's not necessarily the video podcast that you might be aware of. We're going to probably have to unpack a little bit of like what people think a podcast is versus what I mean it is in terms of an asset for your business. But we'll do that in the question section because I just want to churn through this and get through it all. The overview of what a video podcast allows you to do is turn 60, 20, whatever amount of minutes that you can commit to on a weekly or monthly basis into absolutely everything you require. We've got the investment being your time and your money going into the asset, which is the video podcast. So let's say we invest in $550 for a podcast and 30 minutes of our time. What that podcast or that investment is able to churn out for us is all of the social media posts for our cold audiences. So that can be across TikTok, YouTube Shorts, which are more of your cold audience-based platforms, but also your Instagram content, your reels to the people who already know you. And the video podcast is able to be what is marketing gold, and that is a YouTube video. Why is YouTube such a powerful marketing tool? Because it allows us to tap into the biggest SEO, search engine optimization giant in the world, called Google. It's owned by Google. So that means that if you know how to tap into the algorithm correctly, or you partner with people who do know how to do that, you're able to actually put your content in front of people who are literally searching for you. So remember when we were talking about the marketing funnel, the client's experience is that they're problem aware. So they might be searching for best builders in my suburb. I've got a problem. I need to build a house, unaware of my solutions. The activity that the client is doing is having a look. If you can get your content ranking to that cold audience member, say, hey, this is what I have to say about watch this before you invest in a builder, I might click on that and then I'll be taken into the funnel down the process to the desired outcome, which is when they convert to a sale. So that's where the video podcast is in the top of funnel. In the middle of funnel, it turns into your Instagram content, your LinkedIn content, your Facebook content, and the email newsletter. So you export the transcript. This is what we do for Profit Analyst. Export the transcript, we create the newsletters, and of course the podcast is the most powerful conversion tool you can have in a business. Now this is, again, the entire reason I started my business as a marketer who became aware of this exceptional converting tool, because a podcast is, as opposed to what it's like being on social media, which is a one-to-many marketing activity. We're talking whoever's making the post, you're one to the many, that you're casting a broad message out to everyone out there, which is an approach we require. But why a podcast is so powerful is because it gives you an opportunity to be in a one-on-one conversation with your ideal client. They're either churning through some errands, they're driving, they're on a walk, and it's just you and their AirPods having a conversation, you providing them with minor transformations, but major transformations in their life by the value you're providing, the expertise you're sharing on what it is that you do and why it is you do it. And naturally, you're able to just tap into the neuromarketing laws at play that's going to convert that person into wanting to spend more time with you. And if we think about the rule of 7 episodes of your podcast could easily be 7 hours of content that they can consume. So that's already ticking off that marketing rule of 7. You can already see that it's able to be across multiple different platforms, which means that you are providing at least as many touch points as possible. You're giving your marketing system the fuel required in order to get out there as much as you can and actually allow the conversions to happen without the manual input of your work. You let the algorithm do the hard work, which is the best part. Then we've got the call to action. So this is where the podcast can be churned into Facebook ads. This is what we do for Gav. We put his podcast out there and we put a budget behind it. From a podcast, it's become just an asset that we can put an advertising spend behind in order to get that sale or to get that lead. Or you can actually advertise within your podcast, and that's also what we do. A good strategist would suggest that you put in an ad for your business within the podcast. Say, hey, if you're looking for Gavs, for example, if you're looking for help in your building profit in your business, book a call. There's a link in the description. It's as simple as that. It's actually quite an effortless conversion strategy, or at least a lead generation strategy for your business. There's a few more things that can come into like the strategic gain of a podcast, but I'm not going to go too involved in there because I'm not sure that anyone actually has an existing podcast live in this group. But if you do, feel free to book a strategy call with me and we can go really deep into how you can be actually really leveraging your podcast to build profitable marketing. But yeah, that's just an overview of why it could be beneficial to execute a marketing activity that not only is the marketing activity, but it's also something that is providing you the assets required to fuel every marketing activity you actually need. Okay, so I'm going to talk through some examples of this strategy actually working with people, because I know that initially, depending on what your relationship is with podcasts, some of you might never have listened to one before. Others may have and don't see necessarily the link between these cool podcasts you're listening to like Joe Rogan and how it's going to be a profitable business investment for you. The reality is you're not going to go through with the approach that Joe Rogan does. There's a different approach that we would take. But these are some industries that I've personally worked with that this process has really worked for. I've done it for meditation products, business coaching, massive money in that. I had my client Riley there. She doubled her income, her revenue after doing this strategy. And it went bananas basically. We've got beauty industry, all these businesses are over 6 or 7 figure businesses that are able to tap into like really quite a lot of sales just from this strategy alone. I've had AI consultants, graphic design studios, photographers, therapists, personal training, naturopaths, a lot of people in the wellness space. So whether that's the holistic health staff or just the nutritionist style stuff. One of my clients was able to have a $75,000 launch of her program off the back of 12 weeks of the strategy that we put out for her podcast. Before she came into my world, and she would rely solely on Instagram content, and it would be a very manual process for her to actually get sales into her business. And the most like incredible part of what we did for her was able to take that manualness out of it and just actually allow the podcast to be a marketing system and a strategy and build the activity within itself, which was an awesome thing to see. Worth mentioning that yes, even trades can absolutely benefit from this system. I've actually provided a link here that I want to show you. This is one of my clients who comes into the studio. He runs a construction business in Bundaberg, and after creating like this strategy for him, within, I think it was 3 or 4 months, he was completely booked out for the remainder of the year. This was last year. He's the most expensive builder, home builder in Bundaberg, and we have able to close his books again already for this year. And so he's bringing in big money. Like he brings in 6 figures per build, So absolutely we can have a strategy for trades, and honestly any business. I'm yet to have met a business that this doesn't fit for. and we can go head to head in the question section if you think your business isn't going to work from this particular strategy. What this strategy does is it gives you the knowledge that you are required to actually hit all those points. But I think the most beneficial part of this approach is that it doesn't just give you a strategy. It gives you a system to execute the strategy. It provides you the mechanism required, the content creation activity that's required to fuel every single part of your marketing strategy. So that's the power of this when it's in its full action. Essentially, what I'm getting at is to turn 60 minutes of time into a top to bottom funnel marketing system. 1 podcast, 1 YouTube video, email newsletter, over 10 short form videos, which can be posted to your Instagram, your YouTube shorts, your TikTok. So you're having there everything that's required for you to have a profitable marketing strategy and system at play in your business. Now, a lot of people say, creating a podcast, Sophie, I don't know if I'm right for that. I'm not really. There's a lot of, resistance that comes up as founders who are presented this strategy, and I completely appreciate that. I'd invite you to see what my team can do with 60 minutes of your time as a one-off. We had Gav come in to the studio and film I think it was 60 minutes, or maybe it was a little bit longer because, we're mates, of content. It was still going through it. We've got, I think, at least 2.5 months worth of content for his Instagram. And now this wasn't a podcast at the time. This was just to show him how easy it can be to have really high quality, really compelling content created for him, and to go across all of the platforms that he requires or he has a preference towards. Go stalk his content on Instagram or LinkedIn and see what we were able to create. Obviously, if you aren't local to Sunshine Coast, you can go to another studio. I'll allow that. I guess the benefit from my service is that I'm in the studio with you and prompting you through the questions required in order to actually get the content that's going to be compelling. And so if you aren't local, definitely get in touch with me. We can have a meeting and I can potentially give you the content or the questions to bring someone else in to just literally interview you on the ins and outs of your business to provide that really high performing founder content that is required in this day and age to actually stand out online. With the rise of AI, I can tell you right now, my analysis is that that's why founder content is performing so well, because we've become desensitized to static images that can be created by AI. There's no real personality, there's no real brand, there's no real influence and no real memorability in that touch point. So the stakes are a lot higher in this day and age, and really what's required to have the most profitable marketing strategy is you, or I'll allow a marketer within your team to be a face for your brand and to be a connection point for your ideal customers, to take them through, hey, this is who I am, all the way to you should consider working with me, to becoming a loyal advocate for your brand. So yeah, just thought I'd plug that. I said I would at the start, that absolutely I can help you through this. And there it is there. That's my personal offer for you. So we can do 10 professional reels in just 1 hour of your time. So if you're busy, you can spare 1 hour and you just get to come into the studio. We get to record it, and then you get to have really cool reels. You can see if, okay, is this going to work? Has my engagement risen on my social media platforms? Have I been able to get more leads from just that amount of content? You can test it. You don't have to go all in for a podcast. And if it works for you, why wouldn't you just commit to 60 minutes a month to get everything that's required for your marketing strategy? All right, well, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into my masterclass rehearsal. If you felt anything that you disagreed with what I said, I want to hear about it, or anything that resonated. I'd love to hear about that too. This approach can be done for any business. I've done it for many businesses, and I've done it for my own business, and it works. Worth a try for you, I think. Definitely worth a try. I'm going to leave you with a question, a thought-provoking question, and that is, how do I receive myself after I have expressed myself? So when was the last time that you were fully expressive in an opinion, in a joke, in absolutely anything? So you're in front of people, you've expressed something. Do you receive yourself with grace and think, pat on the back, even if it didn't land? Or are you receiving yourself in a judgmental way? I'll leave you with that question, because something I've been working through, and I'm going to absolutely create an episode about this entire topic, is the ability to have grace after you express is definitely the key to be able to market yourself in a profitable way. And I'm going to unpack that in another episode, but I'm going to leave you with that question for now. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you next time.